Welcome into the PFF NFL podcast. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson here. We are not so live, but we're coming to you from Radio Row at the Super Bowl, a very special show. We already did our Super Bowl preview on Monday, so you guys can check that out. And then, Sam, it's your first Super Bowl. How's it going down here?
It's going good, although in tally, you are one fan sighting to zero.
Yeah, shout out to my fan. You tracked me down yesterday.
Verified fan.
You wanted a picture. Sam clarified that it wasn't just because I was tall and freakish?
Yes. Well, you've had two people so far stop you for photographs down here at Super Bowl week. The first one, I'm 100% certain, was only interested in a photo with you because you're such a tall, freakish human being. He was from Spain, apparently. He kept telling us. So that guy is not a fan. That guy just wanted a picture with the freak. The second guy stops you for a photograph. I was like, hang on, do you want a photograph with him because he's tall or because you know who he is? And he goes, no, I know who you guys are, PFF, blah, blah. And then just stands in, gets a picture with you while
Shout out to Brett.
While I'm standing there doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I got this, but you got a photograph.
Big PFF fan.
So that is officially a verified fan for you. Team Steve guy.
Can't go anywhere around here without fans, tracking you down for photographs. But we're more than willing. So if you guys want a photo, if you run into us down here.
Particularly if you're a Sam fan, because I'm now one behind.
Yeah, you're losing.
Right.
So it's been great. It's a lot of fun. A great week. It's all brought to you by Proper Cloth. The entire show. I see you got your cactus shirt on. I got my beautiful fitting lavender shirt on. Propercloth.com/PFF. It's where you can get the very best in men's custom shirts. PFF20 is the promo code. Get $20 off your first shirt. I have made it a point to look good all week here.
You've been, some would say overdressed.
Nope. Proper cloth dressed. Properly dressed is what I would say. Looking good here on Radio Row. That's been my goal.
The Proper Cloth stuff is outstanding. Get yourself a custom tailored shirt. There is nothing like it. The basketball work has been paying off. Andy Kalut told me, I can see you do cardio.
Oh, wow. That's
on
good.
The air.
Looking good.
Right?
With the cactus shirt.
With the cactus.
That thing's going to become famous by the end here. So propercloth.com, it's where we got these shirts. It's where you guys should go check them out. Shirts starting as low as $80. PFF20 is the promo code. Propercloth.com/PFF. Now, this show is a special one because we said we already did the preview. We wanted to bring other people in to forward that football conversation.
Yes.
So we've
got a couple of people, a couple of guests.
Former NFL guard/tackle Geoff Schwartz.
Yes. Not just Mitchell Schwartz's brother.
Not just Mitchell Schwartz.
To him.
I did introduce him as Mitchell Schwartz's brother.
Yeah.
You'll hear that in a second. So Geoff Schwartz is here. He's making the rounds. He's got his brother in the Super Bowl, former NFL player, and then the great. He's always introduced as the great Cosell. Okay. That's the way I always hear him. This has been like years in the making to get a football minds like Greg Cosell to mesh with PFF. There's a lot of similarities in how we started and in the passion that we have for understanding football and moving the football conversation forward in that respect. So great conversation with Greg about quarterbacks, evaluation, a little bit of Super Bowl talk. So it's a great show. Absolutely. And it's a different one.
So let's get straight into Geoff.
Let's start with Geoff. All right, we're here with Geoff Schwartz, the brother of Mitchell Schwartz, one of the best. Is he the best right tackle in the NFL?
You tell me. Your grades are right there.
Don't do the man like that. The brother of Mitchell Schwartz.
That's all he is.
That's really, look, to be fair, I played 8 seasons, and I was a 0-time All-Pro. Mitch is a 4-time All-Pro. So I feel like, especially in this setting, too, where he's playing the game I never did.
You got unlucky with injuries.
I did.
I can relate.
That's fair.
I have been working on basketball, and I've just been racking up a list of injuries. So I can relate to the struggles you've been through.
If there's anything that we do here is Sam relates to football players based off his Division II Irish background, and I relate to the professional athletes because that's what I was.
Second team All-IAFL back in the day. So
yeah.
You put some respect on that.
I've never been second team anything.
That's what I'm saying. Look.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Look, if anyone is going to be paying respect, it's coming this way.
Yeah, you should be interviewing. I found a fan yesterday. There was a fan here.
Really?
To take a picture with me.
It was not Duke.
No, it was not Duke. Is he here?
No.
We got to hang out.
He'll be here actually tomorrow.
How many people have stopped you and asked you for photographs while you've been here?
0.
2 people have asked him for photographs. Now, one of them, I'm pretty sure wanted the photograph just because he's 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
The second one, I verified that he actually knew who he was before he got the photograph.
He's just so excited about how Steve grades film. He just was.
He was a YouTube
big fan. PFF NFL podcast. He tweeted out the picture. He's got 4 whole followers. We just appreciate him.
Now, he appeared to be a fan specifically of Steve because I made sure that he knew who he was. Like, oh, yeah, PFF, love you guys. Great stuff on YouTube. And then he just, photographed with Steve. I'm, stood over here. Nothing.
You feel left out.
Yeah.
I love how you really are running highlights of my brother.
We have Mitchell Schwartz film
from week 1
right here. It's the whole season. He's got 150 key plays in our system here. How's this? Look, get to the second level, take out the backer.
Woo!
And look at that. See, this is the beauty of the PFF system. Mitchell gets a positive grade for this particular block. It was like a 2-yard gain. I think that's why we're great, Geoff. I think that's why OL Twitter, hashtag O-line Twitter, needs to respect PFF a little bit more.
I've told you this before. I think your general grading is fine. I think you're pretty much right where it should be. But the stuff that O-line Twitter gets upset about, and we've had you on my other 3 podcasts ago, is the idea that you don't know the plays, right? But your methodology, I agree with. Look, if we mess up one play, we're probably going to mess up another one in the other direction. It'll even out. If we mess up 15 plays a year, right?
I got screwed by that podcast.
Sam, defend yourself.
Good.
You guys had me on at 2 a.m.
No, Duke. I mean, look, he asked you a scheme-specific question
you guys,
about power.
Well, not even that. You guys had me on 2 a.m., right? I'm staying up for this thing. I'm sleepy. It's not, I'm tired. I just want to go to bed.
We got you.
And then you guys are talk me through power block by block. And me at 2 a.m., I didn't even think to be I didn't even think to ask, what's the front I'm looking at? This is not.
We got you. Though.
You really did.
Try it again. Ready?
We got you.
Down block, double team, the 3, guard pulls around. Just do it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Leave me alone.
Down, around.
Right.
There you go. No, I mean, look, I definitely think that the way you guys chart, especially pass protection, is awesome because, we've talked about this many times. A sack is not just on the offensive line,
right?
And I think and I think there's other not grading services, but people just look, like NFL.com just list a sack based off who, if your player lined up over you, you have a sack. And I think that being able to grade, because the run game is hard for people to really digest. The pass game you see, right? I mean, everyone's kind of open. You see everything there. And so to say hey, this player, the NFL.com has him down for 7 sacks when it's really just 2 because the quarterback did a terrible job. That's been great because raising awareness for that. And even great, Deshaun Watson is terrible in the pocket. It's not.
He's always high in our sacks.
And I think even for part of the season when Pat Mahomes wasn't healthy, he was not very good in the pocket either.
And it's one of those things as well where there's levels of understanding, right? The basic level stuff is, did you block your guy? Did you not? But then the next level, so we have things where we put out Brian O'Neill for the Vikings didn't give up a sack for most of the year, right? And then we'd put this out on Twitter, and some guy goes, what about this play right here? You're look, just because his man sacked the quarterback doesn't mean it was his fault. That is a play where Russell Wilson starts bouncing at the back of the pocket. It's not on Brian O'Neill. So even though you have this play where it looks like he gave up a sack, you need to understand the dynamics of what's happening. It's not just the blocker. He's blocking for a specific point. He's blocking for the quarterback to be somewhere. When the quarterback goes somewhere else, that guy gets screwed.
And I think the other thing, too, is the whole concept of finishing, right? Because that's a big thing that gets taught from early on about offensive line play. But, the finish part of it is accounted for in your grading. It's just not said because, if you're finishing a block, that means you're taking a guy further than he wants to go. That's going to be a good play. You watch Mitch's plays. Yeah. But you guys don't refer to it as finishing, right? And that pisses me off, pisses other people off too, because that is the idea of finishing your block is what we do, and that makes you from a good player to a great player. A lot of guys can get in the way, but it's a matter of being able to take your guy further than he wants to go, and we take pride in that part of our game, and that's not it's reflected in the grading, obviously, because typically you would get a good grade for that, but you guys don't ever explicitly say this is a block that the guy's finished.
Right, and from our side, it's it's annoying when offensive line guys highlight a block where it's way away from the play, it makes no difference whatsoever, and he jumps on top to finish him.
Well,
that didn't do anything.
But it's very hard to do that, though. I mean, that's
sure,
the thing, too, is it's the idea of finishing in the NFL. I know you do a lot of college. The pancake level in college is much higher than NFL. It's easier to finish guys. Yeah. And the idea of actually flattening someone, that only happens if you're a good NFL player 5 times a game.
Yeah, but it's all about
and college happens all the time. And so it's that. It's even though it's away from the play, it's still super cool when it happens because they don't want to. They're not trying to get pancake. It's
At
great.
the same time, though, and your brother's really good at this. You guys are he tripped. You guys are hashtag he tripped Twitter,
Yes,
right?
it's very
when
good.
the O-line gets pancaked, and it's like, no, he got tripped up.
Well, that is true,
But
though.
that never happens in reverse. Look, he pancaked him. Like, the O-line made a great play. And
It never happens in reverse.
Defensive linemen never get tripped, right?
They've never been tripped once.
No.
They always go down against their will, and we're always doing, and it's always clean when we finish them. We never do anything wrong.
Sam always uses Quentin Nelson as the example. He's the guy that brings us all together.
Yes.
He does what you guys love. He does what we love. Like, Quentin Nelson is like the guy that bonds O-line, Twitter, and PFF.
He put out a video yesterday on his Instagram singing to he had just got a haircut and he looked really good and he was singing like the lyrics to the song. It was, oh my God, he's a national treasure. He's a giant human.
He really is.
Like his upper body's like a fridge and his legs are like kind of thin, which is the opposite of a lot of our builds. And he's just a freak show.
So this is one thing that's been intriguing me this week during this whole media row. You know, there's a lot of guys here. A lot of guys are former players. A lot of guys are former offensive linemen. And there's this trend at the moment of seeing these guys that recently retire and then just shed a ton of weight. You know, John Sullivan is the latest one that I saw.
Yeah.
Standing like 240 or whatever it is, looks pretty shredded. Nick Hardwick is a couple of spots behind us.
Oh, yeah, he looks good too. Yeah.
And so there's a ton of these guys, and I think there's these
I'm just
two.
fat.
Well, these two types of bodies, right? There's these guys that have to work so hard to maintain like 285, right? And as soon as they stop playing, they shed it all, and they're like normal-sized guys. Like Hardwick is the same size as Eric over here, who's like a small college tight end, right? And then you've got guys like you who are just huge human beings.
I've always been
right?
like that's the thing is I'm a little heavier than I want to be right now, but up until about a couple months ago, I was less weight than I was when I was a freshman in college.
Wow.
Like I got up to college. I got to 372 in college.
Whoa,
wow. When I was like fully playing, like I was 19 years old, so I had a good metabolism. I was playing every day. I was practicing every day. So I got 372. I played in the NFL. The lightest I ever was like 332, and mostly 340. So like I've already lost weight.
Right.
Like this is how big I've been since I played. Now obviously, I'd like to lose a little bit of weight, but I still work out 5 days a week. I don't lift 5 days a week, but I still work out a bunch. I like working out. I've been eating better, things like that. But I'm never going to be that guy. Like I'm more weight than when I played, but I wear smaller clothes. It's really weird. It's like my body's not normal.
It is funny how guys come from different ends, like naturally big versus naturally small.
I was always the guy that had to lose weight to make weigh-in every week.
Right.
Like I said, like Weston Richburg, who's injured right now for the Niners, he's the opposite. So we would sit there Friday mornings before weigh-ins. I would actually have already weighed in.
You in like a sweatsuit trying to get rid of weight, and him like eating burgers. So I'd already weigh in. I'd wake up, I'd get there early and see what my weight was. And if I had to go to the steam room, I would. If not, I just would go eat breakfast. And he was the opposite. He'd wait till the very end of the weigh-in so he could eat a bunch. Right.
I mean, he would eat like so much food, pound water. I knew guys that would, not him, but I knew guys that would put like weights in their pockets because guys need to be at that certain weight. I know Sullivan, you mentioned, got real thin. Hardwig. Kyle Long was here yesterday. He looks a lot thinner. And it's a toll to play this game. That's why when people are done, they just immediately shed the weight because Ryan Cleel's a buddy of mine, Jordan Gross. They lose the weight, but a lot of these guys.
Well, particularly if you're that type of build, right? The guys that have to work to put it on, like as soon as you stop, it's not doing you good. Like just get rid of that weight. But then there are these other guys that are just huge, like huge human beings.
Well, I think I'm one of the rare ones that kind of has stayed the same. Either you get like really fat or really thin. But I feel great. Like I have friends who've lost weight that feel terrible. A couple guys I know that lost weight felt really weak and then kind of put weight back on because their bodies are used to lifting. And that's one thing that I think people don't understand. Like everyone tries to quit lifting when they retire. Yeah. I'm not going to lift. And then like 6 months in, your body's like, I kind of have to lift. Like it just makes you feel good. Not heavy, obviously. Like I like working out. So there's bodies types all over the place, and it's what makes obviously kind of every sport unique, right? I mean, baseball players are different body structures now. Guys, I mean, when we watched baseball as a kid, no one worked out really. I mean,
until they started roiding up,
and then everyone worked out. But like a bunch of fat dudes were playing baseball.
So usually Steve is the largest human in the room that we're in, right? And you would be one of the other ones, right? But the Big Show was here yesterday.
I heard Shaq was here too, right?
Somebody said
Big Show
Shaq was
and
walking
Shaq?
around.
Shaq was here too yesterday.
Yeah.
I've seen his shoe. I wear a size 18. I mean, Shaq's a 22.
Right.
Like,
If we could get a
only
photograph, right, with the Big Show, Shaq, you, Steve, and then me down the front like a 12-year-old
yeah.
child.
Well, you'd be out of the
Greg
picture because no one knows who you are. We don't need you in the picture.
yeah, the fan's not
You've
interested
never
in
been
that.
asked for a picture yet. This
No,
week.
I haven't.
So
That's true.
So you wouldn't need to be in this picture.
Okay.
No, it
I
would
think
be
for
really
scale
funny.
it would be useful, though.
It'd be really funny. My wife is flying right now. She sends me a picture of a lady wearing a mask, and then she's wiping all down
Is it
like
PFC
the seats.
commenter?
It's not. She's wiping out all the seats like with
that lady hasn't heard that those masks are useless against the virus. They don't stop it.
There was a guy here handing out the masks.
Yeah, but apparently the masks don't stop particles small enough to stop the virus getting through.
I'm kind of like this. I'm kind of this type of person where, like, if I get that virus and die, I mean, it's gonna suck. But like, what am I not supposed to live my life until then? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
You're just gonna roll with the chances.
Yeah, like
whatever.
Like, if I get the virus, and this will be, I guess, my eulogy one day. I mean,
You got to go out somehow. It might as well be the coronavirus.
Like, if I get
At the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
at the Super Bowl, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And hopefully my brother wins, so it makes it worth it if I die.
So this is the thing.
Go out on top.
You're here like basically just to support Mitch, right?
No, I mean, I come for the media stuff typically, but I came a day earlier to help to do some opening night stuff, and then normally I would leave tomorrow on Friday.
Okay.
But I'm staying for the weekend. Like, I got to do a couple more things today, and then I'm out, and then tomorrow's just like a Rex hang out with my wife day, do normal stuff Saturday. I mean, it's just like it's
So family's
different.
in town and everything?
Yeah, my wife will get in today.
Yeah.
My parents get in tomorrow, and then we'll go up to the team hotel, stay there for a couple days, and then the game is Sunday. It's weird. Like I've never been to a Super Bowl before, and I guess I don't know what to expect. I mean, I've been told what it's like, and you know, it's weird because it's corporate crowd, Niner fans, Chiefs fans,
Right.
the whole pageantry of the flyover and the anthem and the halftime show, and it's a longer night. So I mean, look, I just hope the Chiefs win because
Right.
it'll make all of this worth it.
Yeah.
If they don't win, it's
So what secret inside info can you give us?
well, I
We won't tell anybody.
I think the Chiefs.
Nobody listens
I think the
anyway.
Chiefs
Right.
like to pass the football.
Wow.
So
There you go.
that's- Yeah, and I've been
Noted.
told.
You must have played the game.
I've been told that the team that scores the most points wins. And I
heard
hope-
Mina say that.
No,
I hope-
please quote Mina.
I hope
Yeah.
I hope that to be true. Oh, sorry, Mina. I'm sorry. I hope that to be true. And we'll see. No, I think that both teams are going to know what the other team does. I think pretty well. I think it's been floating around for a while now. You know, the Niners have got to protect the middle of the field against the Chiefs.
Right.
And you know, I think people expect them to do kind of what the Chargers have done. This season, which is basically protect the middle of the field and try to trap that over route. The Chiefs run a lot on the three verts. I think Kelsey's going to have a huge game. I think Kelsey's going to be a big factor in this game. And then one thing to understand about this, the way this is set up with the offense is I think people think they both kind of not alike, but they both think like they're really different offenses. The Chiefs are going to run what the Chiefs run. That's what they do each and every week. They vary it, a little bit formationally and what they do. But they run a ton of verticals, right? They run a shallow underneath, run a ton of screens. They find open areas in the field. The Niners are really specific each week to the game plan, to what they see on defense. And so it's just different styles of offense, but they're both work. They're both fun to watch. It's the one game where I'm kind of not disappointed in watching the game. I love to be watching on television because it's a great rewind game.
Right.
You're going to go back. Well, if the Chiefs win, you'll go back and rewatch it many,
Well, I mean,
many
I'll probably
times,
watch it
I'm
on.
sure.
I'll probably watch. The all 22. They'll probably put up on like Thursday just to spite everyone.
Right.
How do you?
We can hook you up early. If
Yeah,
you
we
need to.
could.
Oh.
We get the good stuff.
Thanks.
How do you think the matchup of the 49ers defensive line is going to go against
Yeah.
Mitch and the Chiefs offensive
Well,
line?
look, it's very simple. You have to win one-on-one matchups. I think people have asked me this all week and said, "Hey, what are they going to do differently?" Nothing. You have to win. It's very simple. I think we have a misconception about the idea of chipping guys, right? So, ideally for an offense, you don't want to chip, especially with the Chiefs, because it's a spacing offense, and
Chiefs definitely don't want to,
Kelsey
yeah.
is used as part of that spacing. And if you chip, you lose a tight end for a little bit, or you lose a back. And the Chiefs running backs aren't really, they run some of the H-seam stuff, but some of the running backs will be more likely to chip than will a tight end because the running backs can eventually get out. But again, like you're paying my brother, you're paying Eric Fisher, you're paying LDT. You obviously have a little bit cheaper in the guard and center. They got to win their blocks. It's that simple. So I think the Bosa Fisher matchup is going to be key because Bosa's really good.
Right.
And they're going to have to win that, and they're going to have to win inside. They're going to have to find ways to get the ball out quickly. Kind of, it's what I like using the Patriots example of pass protection against good defensive lines. For years, especially when they played Denver and like when Manning was there, they just went empty, right? You spread everything out and you throw the ball as quick as possible. And I think that's what the Chiefs might do. They're not a big empty team, I don't think, right? They don't run a lot of empty.
I could pull it up. Let's check.
They're not a big empty team, I don't think. And but they might do a little bit more of that this game.
To me, and I'm not saying this because he's your brother, but it looks like Mitch is the one advantage on that offensive line in terms of one-on-one. Everybody else, I think the 49ers have the advantage.
I would say that's probably fair. Mitch against D40, he obviously look at that beauty right there.
Nice. Rob Ryan rolling his way through
beauty.
In a blue suit with a blue.
Don't
is that a
tell
polo
me
neck
I'm
underneath
overdressed
it?
this week. Don't tell me I'm overdressed this week when Rob Ryan's
There are
rocking it with a
5
suit.
people in this building wearing suits.
Rob Ryan's one of them.
You are one of them. Rob Ryan is one of them. Oliver Luck is one of them.
Yes.
And a couple other people.
You dress like you make $20 million. People think you make $20 million a year, like Oliver.
I don't know if people think that about you.
I'm a fan.
And so, Mitch against D Ford, obviously practicing each other for years.
Right.
And I think Mitch, the thing about D Ford is his get off, and hopefully he can line up on sides. I've only made that joke like 3 times this week. And if Mitch can negate, his get off, I think Mitch will be fine. I don't get, if I were to rush Mitch, I would do differently than everyone else would. And I don't know. I'd bull rush him as much as possible. Again, it's what Von Miller does. Von Miller bull rush, and tries to go underneath him.
Why are you trying to give secrets out there?
Well, it's not a surprise.
Well, look, they're still brothers. So the bottom line, you want to screw him at every chance you get.
It's so weird to me. I mean, Mitch is so good at the vertical set. There's not many guys in the NFL that can set like him, and he's so patient, and he's so good with his hands. That guys that try to hand fight him, he's gonna beat you.
Right.
He knows what guys are doing. He's so patient. That's why a lot of times I think, and we've seen the older Bosa has been okay against him a lot. Not this year; he was great this year. But it's guys that kind of work him, and then. But D Ford, I think, is gonna be too much hand. Mitch is gonna shut him down. Don't. If he doesn't, don't just cut this out.
Hey, we'll edit it. Don't worry.
Is it different? Because I keep saying when you play Mahomes, I think you want to. We were talking in the hall the other. You want to compress the pocket.
I think
right?
so too. Yeah.
Because if Bosa wins quickly, he still has to tackle Mahomes,
Correct.
who's got such good pocket presence and feel. Right. So if you can compress the pocket, but if you know that the team's trying to do that, and Bill Belichick does this all the time against mobile quarterbacks. Keep your good, stay at the level of the quarterback.
Right.
Does that change the way you're going to block, knowing that they're not necessarily trying to beat you, so to speak?
I would say no, because the second that they decide, okay, on this play, for people, pass rush is coordinated at times, right? So they might decide, okay, on this play, Bosa, you go for it, and we'll rush to make sure that if you miss, we'll have someone covered on your side, right?
Right.
So if you're an offensive tackle and you set okay, he's not going to go upfield this rep, and he does, then you get beat.
Right.
So I think you set the same way every time, but you know that maybe in this game, if Buckner or Armstead, they're not late counter guys, so they do their one move and they're stop. This game, if they're bull rushing you, they're going to try to shed you and get off to Pat Mahomes at some point. Right. So you might change your mentality kind of post block once you get into the block. But I think the Niners' number one game plan on Mahomes is not let him out of the pocket. We talked about this in the hallway. Those throws are so demoralizing to a team, not just a defense, because an offensive player. It's 3rd and 12. I'm on the opposing offense, right? I stand up from the bench, getting ready to go back on the field, got my helmet on. I'm thinking about what plays we're about to run or what adjustments we're going to make, and then all of a sudden, we're so close to getting right, and then boom, he escapes out, and I have to go sit back down. I feel less good about our team. So it's demoralizing to make that happen.
And they're also usually the big plays, right? Because everything breaks down, and your guy has steals the advantage.
And they practice, all that stuff. So they know, that one guy goes deep, one guy comes underneath. One guy comes in, one guy goes deep. I mean, they know that's the typical structure of how that breaks down. And also on the defense, what Sherman, I think, said a quote. He knows what's happening 75% of the time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you do, that's great. But then you don't know the secondary move that's going to happen because Pat Mahomes got out of the pocket. Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic for the Niners. Do they constrict the pocket, or do they try to win now right away with 1 or 2 guys every play?
Yeah, it takes away that advantage of actually studying the tape, right? Because you might know what they want to run in this situation, but as soon as it breaks down, all bets are off. You just got to cover the guy, and that's way harder.
I remember the 2018 the Chargers game that was on primetime where they lost down the stretch, and I think it was Joey Bosa sealed the deal with a sack.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that too. Like if you take it was 4th and long,
Yeah.
and if you take a chance here on Mahomes, you're on the highlight reel, right? Because he could make those spectacular plays, but he tried to win, and he did win, and he got the sack. So I like what you're saying, kind of like pick your spots and maybe mix it up.
And the tough part, I was talking to some guys yesterday some defenders yesterday about that idea. Like, how tough is it to just constantly like rush to not sack the quarterback right away? Because the one time you screw up that, Mahomes might break and go free, and it's tough for a defense to just do the same thing and not be aggressive. And so it takes a concerted team effort, which the Patriots have done for a long time now on that front, of just we're going to do what we're supposed to do. Our chances will come eventually, but you have to do what we were coached to do, and eventually we'll get home. And I do think that adding Warner late is something that they might do, especially if they think they can't get home with 4s. They're going to find a way to maybe twist up front and add Warner late as a 5th guy. Still play zone behind it, but add him late.
It's an interesting dynamic what that does when you have a quarterback that you really don't want to get out. Because I've actually been talking to Mitch back and forth this season about the Ravens, right? Because you got Lamar Jackson, obviously. And again, the last thing you want to do is let him outside the pocket where he just murders you. And we've been sort of talking about what that does to Ronnie Stanley in particular, right? Because his numbers this season for us, they've been insane.
Great,
Like the guy allowed 6 pressures all season long. You're like, okay, but 1, they're throwing less than everybody, right? 2, nobody wants to sell out upfield because Lamar Jackson's going to bounce. 3, there's all these plays where it's the read option stuff. There's so much that takes away the pure pass sets.
Pure dropbacks. Yeah.
And then even if you just limit it to that sample size, it's really hard to tell what effect making that number smaller has. The fact that he doesn't have to do it as often.
I mean, this is the conversation we had about Conklin a while back with all the help he gets, right? So let's say you have 35 pass blocks, only like 12 of them, which Conklin ended up having like all way back his rookie year, were like actual true pass sets. Yeah. It just mentally you feel more confident about that. And I think with the Ravens offense specifically, and this is what the whole idea behind like kind of like the body blow, establish the run type of thing, how it helps the play action pass, is that a lot of times Ronnie Stanley would just set firm. Everyone think it's run because they run the ball so much. He had a great season. I'm not taking that away from him, but obviously the offense is helpful. But he played elite in that offense.
Yeah,
right? Like that's a difference. He still played elite in that offense. Lamar. It's interesting because Lamar Jackson out of the pocket is different than Pat Mahomes. I actually would argue that Mahomes is more deadly outside the pocket because he throws the
coverage.
Ball. Yeah, and Lamar's just running. And the Titans, they spied Lamar and it worked because they just forced him to the sideline.
Yeah.
Well, they spied Mahomes. It did not work because he threw the ball.
Right.
And it's a different style of offense. I was wrong about the Ravens. I think it's too early to write them off for the playoffs. I mean, that was bad again, but
no, 1-game samples you would never.
But you
completely write something off.
But you have a 2-game in the playoff now, where just this offense is just different. I can't explain why in the playoffs. I mean,
well, I think this year. So
they weren't the same team last year, though.
Well,
this year they were a dominant team.
They're also it's the sample size stuff, right? Because each one of them is a completely different situation, right? The first time I think that Ravens team, the Chargers showed up with a game plan that legitimately did stop what they want to do, right? This season, Lamar was a different player, right? So the same game plan I don't think would have worked this season. But what happened this season is, for basically the first time, you knock that offense out of what it wants to do. You force them to play from behind. You change the game completely, and they weren't able to overcome that this time. So, I think there's two different situations. It's tough to look at them both and combine them and say.
But the same idea is the idea of like they can't play from behind.
Right.
It's sort of the same. But the way they're set up, they don't play from behind very often.
Exactly.
And I also think that the Ravens do deserve a ton of credit for. The Chargers ran that 3-3-5, right? So they went out and got a downhill running back and more tight ends.
Yeah.
You can't run 3-3-5.
They're adjusting,
Yeah, you can't run 3-3-5 against that. So we'll see what they do now. And look, the Ravens are still going to win. Everyone's healthy. They're still going to win 12 games next year. I mean, no one's going to stop this offense again next year.
Your reservation, you had the same reservations about Lamar that we had.
Yeah.
Just throw-for-throw accuracy was not good in college. It wasn't good as a rookie.
Yeah.
But the thing we always said was because of all this stuff, because of the trickeration, because his skill set is so unique and dynamic, he'll have more open throws. So if you don't hit a guy in stride and you kind of keep it back here, like who cares if it's open? And I think that his accuracy was better this year, but he also, like Mahomes, does get more open throws. The difference is with Patrick Mahomes, he's not a system quarterback, but you got to give Andy Reid quarterback, right?
Every quarterback's in a freaking system.
I know.
It's just so silly.
Well, everybody likes to have this black and white thing. So I always put that caveat. So Mahomes gets helped by the system. Lamar kind of is the system that creates those things. So you have to give him credit and say that's that's why he could be a potential superstar year in, year out.
Yeah, but I guess the question always comes down to the same idea we always have: is how long it's going to last. So we've seen variations of this offense before, and they don't last very long.
Right.
And for attrition, teams catch up. But what's interesting is I'm going to see what the Patriots do this offseason, because the Patriots built their defense to stop the Chiefs. Their defense will stop the right, multiple up front to bring different looks from Mahomes, man coverage corners, and we're going to be physical with the Chiefs, right?
Mix up where the double teams going with cover one, all that.
We'll trap different guys.
Yep.
So they weren't built to play the Ravens. They were not built to stop the Ravens or the Titans. They weren't, and they played well against the Titans. This whole stupid argument about the Titans fans were all like, "Oh, we played well against the Pats." No, you didn't.
Scored 14
you
points.
14 points,
Yeah.
guys. So it'd be interesting to see if the Patriots decide, because we'll if they keep Tom Brady, which I think they do, defensively, are they going to get bigger? Are they still going to gear up for the Chiefs? Like, what are they going to do defensively to kind of, like, how much do they fear the Ravens being a thing?
You got to stop both. I mean, the AFC could be quite the battle over the next few years if the Patriots recover a little bit, and you got the Ravens, you got the Chiefs.
I think the Patriots aren't that far off, though.
Yeah.
No.
You bring Tom back, you got a tight end, you got a wide receiver.
They need to hit on some skill position acquisitions. I think that was the
Correct.
big thing. For years, the whole thing was basically hinged on like one or two guys. So you had Gronk for an entire decade. That's going to help.
Yeah.
You then had Edelman, who was the secondary guy. When those two guys were there, it didn't really matter what else. And then you get the pieces together by just throwing the dice, right, and hoping you hit.
Correct. And
now this year, obviously you lose Gronk. You've now only got Edelman, and everything they tried to add the other pieces crapped out, right? Antonio Brown, N'Keal Harry, Mohamed Sanu. Like, every time they tried to add something, it just didn't work.
Yeah, and they're going to hit. No, Tom Brady's at the point of his career where he can't carry a team.
Right, he now needs
by himself.
those guys.
He needs all the parts. So I think that to win, Tom should come back. Obviously, I mean, there's no question about that. I mean,
I think ultimately
I think they
mend the fences.
I do wonder if Tom waits, like he tells the Patriots, "I think I'm going to come back. I want to see what you do the first 2 days of free agency."
Yeah,
and just decides like, okay, they've added. I don't know who's a free agent tight end. Isn't a Hunter Henry?
Hunter Henry, yeah.
Hunter Henry would be.
So you add Hunter Hunter
Austin
Henry.
Hooper feels like the guy they'd overpay.
Yeah.
Or they're going to wait and get Tyler Eifert in like day 7.
Yeah,
right. That's what they're really doing.
Like that's probably what they're going to do.
Right.
I think he'd be good in that offense. And you add him. You add I don't know what wide receivers are available. You add a middle tier wide receiver.
AJ Green, Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them going to spend that much money. But like
Sanders maybe.
And then Tom Brady decides, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
And I think if Antonio Brown got cleared, I think they would still sign up.
Still now,
give it another shot.
Yeah,
right?
Why not?
So you mentioned you use the phrase like true pass sets or whatever.
Yeah.
We're trying to actually create that as a metric.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm over here looking at the PFF data and Ultimate. So here's how I did it. Right, 5 and 7 step dropbacks. So take out 3-step plays that are straight. So take out rollouts.
Yes.
Right. No play action, no screens, time to throw at least 2.1 seconds, and that's it. Those are what we're calling our true pass sets, and then you sort it by your PFF grade.
So how do you determine, because they don't really, the 5 and 7 step is now just, it's almost off where they drop to, right? Because in shotgun,
we're doing it based off that. So it's basically
9 yards is a 7-step drop.
Correct.
Okay,
so anything that's 7 or above, we would say is 5 or 7.
Yeah.
So that's just how we've created that metric. We found that this is actually most stable year to year too.
Because a 3-step drop now is just a quarterback literally catching the ball and staying in place.
Yeah,
right.
A 5-step drop is essentially going to 7.
So I should say it's more like a 5-step concept. We're calling it 1 step from the gun, 3 step from under center. It's the same.
Yeah, I would almost say like there's only 2 types of dropbacks now. It's almost like a quick game and then just deeper than that.
Right.
It's almost not even
That's fair.
because I think that quarterbacks are either setting it 6.5 or 9.
Right.
There's no middle ground now where guys are setting at. Obviously, RPOs change it and play action pass is different. But it feels like that's where quarterbacks are doing now. And then you have the older guys like Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady. Those guys just don't even move. They sit at 7 and they just hang out, which
that's
is
nice
fantastic.
to protect for, right? When you know.
Well, that's why I think that's why
is.
some of the Patriots guys leave and they're not as good because Nate Soldier has Eli at 9.5, not Tom at 7.5.
Right. So I got one more question for you before you got to go. Right, the Niners, classic old school Shanahan, Kubiak outside zone scheme. Right, you remember there's these old Alex Gibbs clips online. Right, he's like, I can't run anything else.
Yeah.
I can only rep outside zone. That's it. If you run outside zone, that's what you do. You're a zone team. That's it. So Shanahan's run more gap scheme than any other time in his career this year, right?
Yeah.
They're running power, counter, all this trickeration off of it. is it easier from an offensive line standpoint if you are like, we run zone and that's it? It's two concepts, master this, versus having that run game mix. How does that work for an offensive lineman?
Yeah, that's a good question. The gap schemes they do, though, I think are simplified to a specific look. So like, okay, if we're running, we're going to run wham or we're going to run trap, we're doing to this look, and we practice that play only, right?
Yeah.
And those plays like aren't as technique. You use a lot of your already, like in wham, for example, you use zone techniques on the front side, and then you wham the guy from the tight end. So there's not much change in what you're doing front side. Trap's a little different, but like they're not crazy concepts.
And they're kind of combining them into these zone looks so that it's not a complete change.
And I love it. Look, Patriots last year in the Super Bowl ran 16 different runs. I charted them. It was incredible. It works. It's tougher with practice now, but you have a couple of veteran guys that have done it before, and just you have talented guys, and they buy into what they do. And I think Shanahan does the best in the NFL of setting up the lineman for success by where he puts guys for like way he moves Kittle across the line of scrimmage creates a ton of leverage for them, and it's fantastic the way it works. But I think it because they're so specific to like this look, we're running this play. I think it's easier than just saying like, okay, we're going to run power into any look, or we're going to run trap into any look, or we're going to run wham into any look. They're like, I mean, like that 3rd and 8 trap last week, that was for that specific look.
You could tell that was.
Yeah, it was for that look. It was for that look. And so you can game plan easier when you tell your lineman, we're running trap only to this play. Don't worry about anything else. And if we're not, we'll check out of it.
Do you think that like the different types of offensive linemen are all kind of melding together as well? Because you used to get all zone guys were like 290, right? And then everyone running gap schemes were 330 plus. Now that you're sort of combining the two, You're really all looking for like 300-pounders that can move.
I think we're getting interesting. It's interesting. So for many years as spread offense took over college football, just everyone was lighter in general.
Right.
And now I think we're moving a little bit back in the other direction where we're getting, the college offenses are slowing down. They might still be up-tempo, but they don't snap the ball. Oregon's no huddle, but they don't snap the ball until 5 seconds left of the play clock, right? I mean, everyone's slowing down now. Guys are, I think, getting bigger again. And you can run outside zone with bigger guys. You typically don't, but you see like the Steelers still have big hosses. They run the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys do both. They run zone and they run duo. So you can have dual linemen. But I think like the days of 340 guys like me are coming back a little bit, but they're way gone. I mean, I think Quinn Nelson's that big.
Yeah.
He might be bigger. Quinn,
he's a freak.
You guys love him.
But I think there's guys making it back that are Trey Smith. He didn't come out this year. He's a big guy from Tennessee, guard. We're missing a renaissance of bigger guys coming back. But yeah, I mean, zone typically, like I was really good on outside zone, but I had a coach tell me, he's like, you can't sign you because you're too big. I was like, but if you see my film, like I can.
Yeah, right.
Like,
just actually watch what
I'm
I do.
good on outside zone. Like I like running zone.
See, that's where you need us.
Yeah.
We could say, let's check out Geoff's grades just on outside zone.
I wonder if you still have that from.
There's not enough time to unfilter it.
Yes,
get to there.
There's no from my old filter.
Don't put Steve on under pressure. He can't handle that. He's not a pressure player.
Geoff Schwartz.
We're on tight time here.
How far back did you guys go and like do that stuff?
Run concepts specifically, I think 2014. We've got a pretty good.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
when I
bum ankle Geoff Schwartz. I would have liked to see 2013 stats.
We always graded you well.
Well, I played well. I was a good player. I just was hurt all the time. That wasn't like
that's what I was saying.
With my problem, and that's the thing that's like sucks about being hurt is, everyone's like we're injury prone, and you got hurt a lot, but I was good when I was healthy. Just I wasn't healthy very often. That's the problem.
All right, so we got to get a prediction for the game. You doing predictions?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. Obviously, I just think here's the deal. I think the Niners are a better team. I think it's not like a surprise, not a slight the Chiefs at all.
Trent Dilfer, like Trent.
That's that. I guess if there is a blowout, I think it would be almost the Niners winning a blowout.
Sure, yeah.
I think like that's. But I think that the question becomes, the Chiefs have got to win with Mahomes being the MVP.
Yep.
And he's the difference maker. Can he overcome all the trends that show that he's not going to play well in this game, or the Chiefs' offense won't play well? And he's that good of a player. And so I just don't know how the Niners stop him unless they get home with 4. If they blitz, they're screwed, I think. So a lot of great matchups for the Chiefs. High-scoring game, which everyone's saying, I guess. Like 35, 32, some 37, 34. Last possession game. I won't be nervous till the fourth quarter because I think no matter what happens, this is coming down to the fourth quarter.
I think so, yeah. Should be a great game. Anything to promote before we get out of here?
Podcast, Geoff Schwartz is Smarter Than You.
Are you really, though?
Yeah, I am. Okay. It's a football podcast. I'll make you smarter about football. And we talk some Barry Bonds a little bit. I'm a big proponent of him being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree.
If they put David Ortiz in the Hall of Fame this year and not Barry Bonds, I'm going to have a big problem with that.
Yeah,
I'm going to write them a letter and tell them how angry I am.
You need me to take over with the baseball talk?
Do you think Barry should be in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely.
I mean, you saw.
Right.
He was incredible.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, so he was a roided-up Babe Ruth. So what? He was incredible.
But before he took steroids, too, he had 400 home runs and 400 stolen bases.
Right.
Also,
and
everyone
Ken
else was
Griffey.
on the roids.
Guys.
Don't hold it against
What?
them.
That's just him and Griffey were just like, well,
Okay.
I know you're an anti-Griffey guy.
No,
too.
I'm not anti-Griffey. I'm Bonds was much better than Griffey guy.
I understand.
Yes.
Yeah, he was incredible.
Yeah.
So there we go. Geoff Schwartz, thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Glad to
and
be here.
Good luck. Enjoy the rest of the Super Bowl.
Be
week.
fun.
Thank you to Geoff. That was really great. Anytime we can bring O-line Twitter and PFF together,
It's a beautiful thing.
we got to extend the olive branch. I thought Geoff did a good job. Just nice conversation about the game.
He did. Jeff's a nice guy. He's a good guy. He's smarter than you, apparently.
I don't buy that. I mean,
He's also a
it's good title,
tremendously
but
large human being.
He is.
Like, he's
a large
a big guy.
I didn't realize he was up to 370 plus
like
at
in college?
one point.
Yeah.
I've never been that high.
No, you balked at 300.
Yeah, I don't want 300. I've turned my back on 300.
When he was 370, he was about 200 pounds larger than I am right now. 200.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of human. That's a lot of extra human.
We had
being.
a large human here on the podcast. You didn't ask him the question we need to ask.
I didn't ask him if he shaved his nuts recently. I
You
did.
have not.
But they suggest I should.
Breaking news right now. This is breaking news on the PFF NFL podcast. This important PSA is brought to you by Manscaped.com.
Oh.
This breaking news. And what is it, Sam?
It doesn't say PSA, Steve. It says pubic service announcement.
It did say PSA, and then it said, this is your pubic
Oh, it
service
did, yeah. So you're right. That's the
announcement.
next line. This is your
true.
pubic service announcement. After more than 18 months of research and development, the Manscaped engineering team has confirmed that they have successfully created the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created.
We've been over here pushing the Lawnmower 2.0 from
2.0.
Manscaped.
Right.
Throw it out the window.
Gone. We have taken leaps and bounds forwards. We are on to the 3.0. The Lawnmower 3.0 Manscaped trimmer is now available for purchase.
So where do we get it?
So
Let's go
stop
check it out.
whatever the hell you're doing right now. Go to manscaped.com, use the promo code PFF, and get 20% off the Lawnmower 3.0 with free shipping. And as always, Steve, your balls will thank you.
They will thank you. And if you already got the Lawnmower 2.0 with us, thank you.
We appreciate
but
it. But the 3.0
highly
is...
recommend the 3.0. We both got a special
We
shipment.
did. We got a package
of
of
the
the 3.0
Yeah.
in the mail.
We were so excited, too. I was in the middle of sending you a picture of the 3.0
Yeah.
just arriving to my house, and you sent one to me
Right.
at that moment.
It's insane. It's got its own little charger. Like it stands up, parks neatly in the vanity or whatever you guys call those things over here. Charge the thing up, rip away, buzz those balls, buzz them clean.
Here's the thing. If you use the Lawnmower 2.0, it's an easy transition because it's the same replacement blade with a new and improved skin-safe technology. So they just keep making a great product even better.
Cranked up to 7,000 RPM. That's like the
Your
speed.
balls will thank you.
That's the speed of like an impressive, sports car. 7,000 RPM. My car redlines at 7,000 RPM. That's the kind of power we're talking about here.
Get Sam's car for your nuts. It's PFF, promo code manscaped.com, 20% off plus free shipping. Promo code PFF over at manscaped.com. Highly recommend the 3.0.
Yes.
Now it's time for, again, the great Greg Cosell. Let's
Now,
get into
a beautiful segue from ball trimming into Greg Cosell.
We didn't ask him either.
We didn't ask him if he shaved his nuts either.
No,
What are we
did
doing
not.
here?
Yeah, Cameron Jordan kind of getting into our shot right here.
It's like, I got to avoid getting an ass cheek in the face.
It's all right. It's all right. We're professionals here. A lot of stuff has happened. There's something coming up in a few podcasts away where there was like an earthquake around us that people need to tune in for. It was a big.
What?
There was.
Oh,
The
yeah.
lady fell.
Yes,
Anyway,
she
Greg
did.
Cosell coming up. We've got way more than just a game preview here. Quarterback evaluation, the evolution of the quarterback position, and a little bit of discussion about the Super Bowl.
Yes.
All right, we're here with Greg Cosell. Thank you for joining us here. Give the quick history of what you've done through
Oh,
the
my
years,
God.
Greg.
Well, I'll start with this. When I saw Peter King at the Eagles training camp before this past season, he said to me, do you realize that you've been part of the NFL for 40% of its existence?
Wow.
And that made me feel really old.
That's such a Peter stat, too.
I know,
the way
I know.
He breaks it down.
I just finished my 40th year at NFL Films, and I always find this difficult to talk about because I'm really just a grinder at heart. I'm not a look at me kind of guy, but we started showing X and O football on television at NFL Films in 1984.
Yeah.
And I was the one who really started that, and for years and years we were always told that no one cared about football like that. And in some ways we're still being told that to some degree.
I know,
to some degree. And, so basically I morphed from being a filmmaker into being kind of an X and O football guy.
Right.
And when we got the coaching tape in 1991 or 92, I think it was, because I went to high school in Queens in New York, and my high school didn't have a football team, so I was a baseball and basketball player. So when we got the coaching tape, to me it became an academic and intellectual experience.
Yeah.
I was learning the game, through coaches. I was trying to learn through coaches. And then Steve Sable, maybe 5-6 years later, said to me, you need to be going to the scouting combine every year so you can talk to coaches. And I think I started doing that in 1998, and now I've become, good friends with a lot of coaches and are able to talk to them. I try not to talk to them during the season because I don't want to be just another guy bugging them. But, great conversations in the off season at the combine. You're always learning. But to me, football is an academic and intellectual challenge, and I just love the tactics of it, the schematics of it. And that's sort of where, my career has taken me. And, if it wasn't for Steve Sable coming to me in 1984, and that's one reason we're so thrilled he just got into the Hall, coming to me in 1984 and saying, hey, there's something that we're tossing around and you're the guy. And, my career would have been totally different. But, I love this. I mean, I probably love it too much because I work way too hard.
That's awesome.
So that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. You're kind of a combination of self-taught and just by conversing with coaches and all that kind of thing. Because one of the things that obviously gets leveled at people like us at PFF is, well, you're not
didn't play.
former players, right? You didn't play the game, and you must have had to deal with some of the same thing.
I guess yes and no. I mean, because when I started out, and for many, many years, I was behind the scenes. So while, some people might have known who I was if, Ron Jaworski or Merrill Hodge mentioned me, during the matchup show. But, a lot of people didn't necessarily know who I was. So I did have a long stretch where I could really learn. And through my NFL Films, which is my main job, I was very fortunate to, go out on the road and do interviews for other type projects and then get to know people.
Right.
Like I was probably the one person who I was so grateful and thrilled to know and actually call a friend and taught me so much was Bill Walsh. And, I don't know if that would have happened if it wasn't for my normal job at NFL Film.
Sure, yeah.
Like I'm sure if I just called up Bill Walsh and said, hey, Bill, I produce a show that's on television. I'd love to come out and talk football with you. I don't know what he would have said, but, I went out to do a project with him and we kind of hit it off. And he said to me the first time, he said, hey, come on, let's grab lunch. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting across from Bill Walsh at a restaurant, out in the San Francisco area. And because I was fascinated by football, obviously, and by the quarterback position, I had nothing to say. I'm sitting there listening to him for 2 hours, and that was my first introduction, and probably did that 4 or 5 more times with him. And, then all of a sudden you start to learn. But I had a chance to kind of work in the background, behind the curtain, so to speak, for a lot of years. So I didn't face that as much maybe, and again, I don't know what you guys' situation is, but, I didn't face that much.
Yeah. Steve gets to skate by because he looks like he played.
Right. No, we just the thing that's happened with us is that we kind of just started quantifying the game in a different way.
Right.
And whether it was dealing with coaches or front office personnel or just fans, us trying to say, look, this 300-yard performance wasn't actually that great, or this 4-touchdown performance was mediocre, or, because
I
the
appreciate
receivers did the work.
Because until you watch the tape and see it, it's like tackles. A lot of times, because I do a lot of college work, so I know you guys do too. But I've already jumped into watching college tape. I've watched 11 quarterbacks in detail and 2 receivers. When I go back, I'll just keep going into receivers because, from what I understand, there's a ton of them in this draft.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But a lot of times it's tackles, like with a linebacker. Well, he had 150 tackles. Well.
Right, is that
that
good or
bad?
bad?
Doesn't mean anything to me until
Right.
I see the plays.
Right.
That's just a number. It's like interceptions. Well, Jordan Love had a bad year. He threw 17 interceptions. Well, why don't we watch the plays before we decide whether that's good or bad?
Right.
As opposed to just looking at a number on a page.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I know you guys agree with this.
That's our passion is to figure out the context on every play and try to see it through the same eyes. And ours, I just call it quantified film study for us. Just adding data and trying to paint that picture of what happened. So, So quarterback's always been your passion. I think it's obviously
just
the
because
engine.
of that whole thing with Bill Walsh, which started in the 80s, and so quarterbacks kind of became my thing. Although I must say, in recent years, I've become so much more fascinated with defense.
Yeah.
Just because I think with the speed of players on defense now, with a lot more use of, what you guys know as sub packages, 5, 6, even 7 defensive backs, I've become far more fascinated by all that.
Sure.
But quarterback still is probably my number one passion.
Where would you say the evolution of a quarterback has gone? Because we've gone through many times where it's like, all right, you need to have a mobile quarterback now, right? And that's happened when Vic came out. That's happened many times through the years. Are we at that point? Where do you feel like the future of the quarterback position is going?
It's a great question, one I've been thinking about a lot. And mobility, as you guys know, is a relative term.
Sure.
Because there's different kinds of mobility. I go back probably before you guys' time. I know you know who the player is, but I go back to Dan Marino. Mm-hmm. And Dan Marino probably could run a 6 flat 40, but Dan Marino had incredibly light feet within the pocket, what we call pocket movement. Tom Brady has been the same way in his career. So that's one form of mobility. Now, another form of mobility, is what Russell Wilson does. Then there's a Pat Mahomes who, yes, he's had some great runs the past couple of games, but I wouldn't call him necessarily a runner.
Right.
He's got the ability to get outside the structure of the play and make great throws on the run. So there's different kinds of mobility. Is the question going to be, let's look at a Carson Palmer who came out in 2003 and was viewed in 2003 and for many years before that the absolute prototype. Would that player be the prototype still?
Right.
That's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
I think a quarterback in this draft, have you started your college stuff yet?
Yeah, we have all of our grades and all that stuff. I haven't gone back in detail on these guys, but I've got a good feel for the top guys.
I think a quarterback like that this particular year will be an interesting litmus test. And he's got other issues, so it may not – is it Jacob Eason?
Sure.
Now, Jacob Eason is not totally immobile, but, he's not going to make his living in the NFL if he makes it as a guy who runs around a lot.
Right.
So, how will the league see him?
Right.
Because a guy like that 25 years ago, he'd be a first kind of pick in a draft.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's a great question. I haven't come up with a brilliant answer. I still think that guys who can throw it really well from the pocket are important. Yeah, I think at some point you got to throw the football if you're a quarterback.
Right.
Now, then you look at Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson, they're the only team in the league, and this I know for a fact from people I know, the structure of their offense is built on him as a runner, not as a distributor of the football.
Of course.
Yep.
Now, they're the only team in the league like that. Are more people going to think like that? Is someone going to look at Jalen Hurts, obviously a totally different kind of runner than Lamar, but clearly a very good runner, and say, hey, we can do that same kind of thing with Jalen Hurts?
Right.
I don't know the answer to that.
Or
I don't
even,
know what your opinion is, but I don't know the answer to that.
I think some people might think Jalen Hurts is fool's gold. It might be fool's gold to think that you can duplicate what you're doing with Lamar.
And I'm not giving it up. I'm just saying, will people start thinking in those terms?
Sure.
I think the interesting thing is it potentially opens the door for these offenses that are now crafted to guys that you like. And the one that's coming up a lot now, because for some reason Sean Payton has been talking him up since he got there, is the Taysom Hill idea.
Correct.
Right? If Drew Brees goes and retires, is Taysom Hill a viable option going forward?
It's a great question.
In a Lamar Jackson kind of offense that's built around him, rather than just saying, right, you now have to become a prototypical NFL quarterback that can run a little bit.
Well, if I know Sean, and I do know him, but we've not discussed this, I think he would try to find kind of a hybrid between the Lamar Jackson and a Drew Brees. Yeah. I don't think he would go 100% toward, hey, my quarterback, the offense will be built around the quarterback as a runner. I think he'd try to find a hybrid.
Right.
Because I don't think Sean's giving up the fact that he's a great designer of pass offense.
Oh, and also that's a great point.
And also, as much as everyone looks at Lamar Jackson as the guy or the Ravens offense as the sort of thing that could potentially change everything, the whole thing is built off a guy who is a unique special talent. Like, you can't just plug a guy who's almost a good runner.
They're super creative with their blocking concepts out of, given that he's a runner, what they do with their tight ends. If you watch them, and this again I know for a fact, only about 10 to 15% of those plays where he fakes the handoff are actually zone reads. 85-90% of them are actually designed runs. They have one tight end or a fullback or two tight ends leading him. They're very creative with how they get to their run game with him.
Right.
And those are designed runs.
Yeah, I mean, he averages an absurd amount of yardage before anybody touches him. It's more than most running backs average total.
Well, just as an aside, I'm so fascinated to see how defenses this offseason try to, particularly their division, and once the schedule comes out, the teams that play them, the first 4 or 5 weeks, to see what they do next year.
Right.
Because they're going to spend a lot of time on that.
Absolutely.
So I thought week 1, the Dolphins came out and they said, we saw Lamar last year. He couldn't throw the ball very effectively down the field. And they're just like, here, beat us deep over the top.
Right.
And then he did. And, and I know the Dolphins defense wasn't great, but they're not like 60 points bad. It was like Lamar's just starting to hit those throws, right? And our analysis on him coming out was like, he's not the most accurate guy, but if you do build the run game around him and you create more open throws, like who cares if Bill Walsh's the ball on the front number versus the back? Like it's open, you're still going to complete it and have 10 yards out, So they've done a great job, I think.
They've done an unbelievable job. I mean, to me, that is just really understanding your players and really building a whole scheme around what you have. It's really brilliant.
So I have a theory on quarterback play and production off of that. And one of our favorite things to do, I think, is to take our quarterback grade and kind of separate it out from the production and say this guy had help or this guy didn't have help. He had a great play caller, had great playmakers, whatever it might be. Do you? I think today's NFL, it's easier to take that mid-tier quarterback, say, and just produce in the passing game, whether it's through playmakers or through play calling. You've got way more experience in that. Would you say that is a common thing throughout the history of the NFL? Essentially, can you take that middle-tier quarterback and have a great passing season with that great supporting cast, or is that easier to do in today's NFL because of the rules or just because they're just better at scheming it up?
I think it's your last point is a good one. I think that there's very few transcendent quarterbacks. Mahomes would be one, Rodgers would be one, that you could theoretically say we can run any system and this guy will be a good player.
Sure.
There's very few. Wouldn't you agree? There's very few of those
absolutely.
Guys.
There's usually a handful, I think, that,
I mean, I think even guys who are clearly great first ballot Hall of Famers, I think, and this term has become derogatory, but it's not. Almost all quarterbacks are system quarterbacks.
Yeah, you can't say that, right?
Yeah.
You can't say. People think it is derogatory.
Drew Brees is a system quarterback.
Of course, yeah.
That's
you could argue Tom Brady is a system quarterback. There's very few transcendent guys. So, it's funny. We spent a lot of time talking about this year Minnesota until, they got beat in the playoffs and their offense. And obviously Stefanski was there, but he was running Kubiak's system. And I remember when Matt Schaub was in Houston, and for 3 or 4 years in a row, he had over 4,000 yards passing. I think one year he led the league in passing yards. And, I saw that same kind of offense in Minnesota this year. I think you can scheme up, and I think Shanahan does it to some degree, which is why I think Jimmy Garoppolo takes a lot of heat. And that's a different conversation. But, I think there are certain quarterbacks who get sort of put out there as the chosen one where people think they're great, and other quarterbacks who get thrown out there and perceived as, he's part of his system.
Right.
And, and I think, but all quarterbacks are really part of his system. And there's only a few, as we've said, that really can transcend any given system.
I mean, you can never divorce the quarterback from the system he's in. The whole thing is wrapped up in one. Let's get on to the Super Bowl because it's an interesting thing to talk about in that regard. Mahomes, to me, has entered this group of quarterbacks, as you said, the transcendent ones, where I don't even know what the game plan should be to slow down Mahomes.
You mean defensively?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think, Rodgers at his very best was like this. What are you supposed to do? I think with most quarterbacks, you at least know what the game plan should be. Whether you can execute it or not is a different matter.
Right.
But what do you even do against Mahomes?
Well, I don't know if I'm smart enough to have a great answer
Tell
for
the
that.
Niners, right?
I mean, look, I think the thing that makes Mahomes, besides we know he's a great thrower, but even more special is the fact that he can make a lot of off-schedule plays, and when he leaves the pocket, he has great downfield vision. A lot of guys, when they leave the pocket, are throwing an 8-yard pass. Mahomes has that special ability to still see things down the field and leave the pocket and make a 30, 40-yard completion, the kind of plays that are game-changing plays. The thing, everybody will know what Andy Reid's going to run. Andy, to me, and I've talked to defensive coaches about this. Andy, to me, runs his plays. I don't think Andy's overly concerned and this hopefully doesn't come across wrong, with what the defense is going to do. I think he has his core group of plays that he gets to from different personnel packages, different formations, different looks, different shifts and motions, and he runs his plays.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. To a certain extent?
And he's really good at all of that.
He's really good at all of that.
Yep.
So if you're thinking about what you do, I mean, from a 49ers perspective, I think they're going to have to play more zone than man. They played more man over the last part of the season, which a lot of people may not be aware of unless you're studying it, but I think they're going to have to play more zone. I think you might see a lot more split safety in this game because if you play single high, even if it's zone, your outside corner is still essentially going to have to match up at some point.
Right.
So maybe you'll see more split safety. I guess when you play the Chiefs, what you're just trying to prevent, and I think the Titans took this approach, and the Chiefs had a 13-play drive in the second half, which kind of sealed the game. But, I think you're just trying to prevent the long plays.
Right.
Yeah. And Mahomes was patient.
He was patient.
He was really patient.
He was really
right?
patient.
And the fact that he's I don't know what you thought about Mahomes coming out, but we just this week went back to our scouting report.
Oh, and I did too, many times.
All his strengths remains strengths,
right?
And his weaknesses, I'm like, wow, he made that one kind of a strength.
Yeah.
The whole leaving the pocket and not having patience and missing more throws than you expected, right?
To me, watching him come out, and this will sound stupid now, I'm sure, but that's all you had at the time. Mm-hmm. I thought there was a very reckless, loose, undisciplined nature to his play.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I remember talking to coaches that year at the Combine, offensive coaches who I know well, and a number of them said to me, I would struggle to draft this guy because I'm going to work 18 hours a week, 18 hours a day, putting my offense together, and I'm not sure he's going to run it.
Right, that's the thing.
Right?
That was a fair assessment at the time, which I think why Andy Reid and the entire offensive coaching staff deserves a ton of credit for where he's come from.
His negatives were always question marks more than negatives, right? It was can he play within the structure of an offense over a much greater period of time that he's going to need to do at the NFL.
Right.
It wasn't that he definitely can't do this, but we don't know. And that has to carry with it an inherent amount of risk that you go, well, look, I can't draft this guy number one because I don't know that he can do that.
You can't. This is my thinking anyway. I don't think you can evaluate a guy as a high level prospect. I'm talking about a top 5 pick in a draft based on his ability to make second reaction plays.
Right.
That to me, that's a little risky to me.
Absolutely.
And it gets back to your question about where's the quarterback position going. And it's a great conversation without a specific answer, but it's a great conversation.
Sure.
Because I guarantee there's a lot of offensive coaches now that will say, hey, I can't draft a quarterback unless he can move around. And there might be other guys, maybe Kyle Shanahan, I don't know, who might say, you know what? My guy's got to be able to throw it from the pocket within the structure of my offense.
Right.
I don't know if there'll be it's not a mathematical equation. I don't know if there's a specific answer to that.
I used it as a tiebreaker, Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen a couple years ago. I said, I like Sam outside the pocket. I think he's got a little better instincts and all that stuff, and I think that might limit Josh Rosen's ceiling, right?
And maybe you're
right.
How
I used
it.
Yeah. I mean, still to be determined, but that was how I was viewing it at the time.
So just to wrap up, what do you think about Jimmy Garoppolo on the other side? Because he's an intriguing quarterback in terms of, his grades for us are sort of borderline top 10, a little bit beyond that maybe, but he's accurate if there was such a thing as a clutch gene, if there was if you could measure clutch. Any way you slice the numbers, he's good in those situations, whether it's fourth quarter, whether it's trailing by, needing to come back, whether it's third downs and long, anything you want to look that's a clutch thing.
No, the metrics are pretty good for him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, good, not great.
Yeah.
So
but I mean, he's getting ripped, and I don't get that. But I mean, his metrics are way better than that.
That's recency bias.
It's just
he only threw 8. People think that they've been running like the Navy offense all season. Right? It's not the case.
No. And I think, and again, I don't know how you guys feel. I think personally that Kyle Shanahan is the best in the league at understanding defenses, particularly zone defenses, because in zone defenses, there's players, usually linebackers and a box safety, who have both a run responsibility and a pass responsibility.
Yep.
And I think he is a master at understanding those players, what their responsibilities are, attacking and breaking down those responsibilities.
Yeah. He can manipulate individual players better than anybody.
Yeah, I think. And so I think Garoppolo, within the context of this offense, doing that presents a lot of timing and rhythm throws. And I think Garoppolo is really good. He's got a really compact delivery. He plants that back foot. He transfers his weight. He drives the football. He doesn't have a power arm, but their offense doesn't require a power arm.
Right.
You don't see a lot of 50-yard, bombs in that offense.
A whole bunch of catchable passes, short,
Correct.
intermediate, right?
And they work between the numbers
Yep.
exceptionally well,
Yep.
which is why, as an aside, I think you'll see Tyrann Mathieu as a robber a lot in this game, depending on
agreed.
situations.
We're with you on that,
But I think that Garoppolo fits really well into the Shanahan offense, which is why they wanted him, because he's a timing rhythm guy to me.
Yeah.
He's not immobile, but he's not going to run around a lot. I mean, he certainly can do the boot game, no problem with that, but that's what Garoppolo is.
Yeah, for us, it seems like this year he'd be having that nice game and then one misread of a linebacker, one strip sack where he held the ball too long.
Every once in a while he makes a throw right in the middle of the field and hits a linebacker between the numbers, and you go, okay, what did he see? And you'd have to ask him. We don't know, but you'd have to ask him.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. So any predictions for the game?
Well, I've had to do that, Steve.
I don't care that much, but
Yeah.
I like the discussion more than anything, but I feel like we have to.
Yeah, and I've got to do it when we shoot the matchup show Saturday, so I've already done it this week as people ask me. So, and this is based on nothing other than I have to do it.
Yeah, right.
I picked
Same.
the 49ers 35-31.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great game then.
I hope so. But, I think back to the 2007 Super Bowl with the Giants and Patriots, the first one, and everybody, including myself, was so certain that game would be in the 30s.
Right.
And wasn't that the 17-14 game?
Yes. Yep.
So who knows?
Same last year as well. The high-flying Rams offense just doesn't get anything going.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Greg.
Hey,
really
appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot.
Great.
All right, special thanks to Greg Cosell.
Yep.
Of course, thanks to Geoff Schwartz. I got to admit, Sam, we've done some interviews on the show, and we're a little wary of interviews. We're selfish. We like to do all the talking.
We are. We're the stars here.
We are the stars. We don't like to share the spotlight.
You have a whole verified fan.
I do. Plus 2 others. We got 3.
That's true, yeah.
We have 2 between us, plus I got 1. I mean, that's a lot of fans.
3 verified fans.
So at least 3 people that are diehard fans, plus the millions and millions that listen.
Yes.
So I have to say about the interviews, though, I love the discussion with Geoff, love the discussion with Greg as well, and I think we could do more of those. I want to hear the feedback, too. I want to know what people think about us having some guests and having those good high-end football discussions.
Right, we've been making some connections down here on Radio Row, chatting to a few people we could get some guests on. We have also been making further developments in the 2-on-2 basketball.
We did. We just met Joe.
Sized
him up.
I met Hawk earlier. By the way, he's really small.
And Joe's bigger than I expected.
Yes, this is my point. I don't think you appreciated the physicality involved here.
You know how you want me to, have a more intimidating presence?
Yes.
And, he kind of stared me down.
That's what I'm saying. You can't take that crap. You are listed 6'10".
Yeah.
You need to go Big Show style, who was here.
I got to work, whatever.
You need to loom over him, look down at him.
But the look he gave me,
he looked at you like you should be looking at the smaller people.
I got to work on it.
Look, I'm not you are a smaller human being, and you're
I watch
less
and
than
learn.
I am.
We just met him right over here. And
but here's the development, right?
I was intimidated.
One, he was very keen to find a basketball court right here in
He's
South
ready
Beach.
on the beach.
Let's
go.
A, that's a bad sign. B, Hawk was talking about turning this whole thing into a podcast 2-on-2 tournament, white men can't jump style.
That would be great.
Right? Now,
that'd be great.
What Joe said is that they could take around the NFL guys. I think we could take them as well.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I think we get our ass kicked against Hawk and Joe, but I think we can take around the NFL guys.
If we grab all of the PFF podcasts and, take the best, me, George, and Renner.
You, George, and Renner?
Rotate us
You're not even...
Yes. Yes, I'm in that mix.
Even in a 3-man rotation, you wouldn't be in...
You can't have 2 guards out there.
It would be George, Renner, and Eric. You wouldn't make the roster.
Stop it. Me over Eric, absolutely.
No, I don't think that's true.
Anyway, tell our friends.
So yes,
Mint Mobile.
One of our new podcast sponsors, Mint Mobile. If you're still using one of the big wireless providers this year, have you even asked yourself what you're paying for, Steve?
What am I paying for?
What are you
What am I paying for?
Between expensive retail stores, inflated prices, hidden fees, you're being taken advantage of because they just know you'll pay.
Yes, I
you
feel
are
that.
that dumb. They know that Steve is silly enough to just start paying for their retail store. And that's silly, Steve. Enter Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile provides the same premium network coverage you're used to, but at a fraction of the cost because everything's online. They don't have giant retail stores
that's easy.
that you are paying for like a sucker. Mint Mobile saves on retail locations and overheads, then passes those savings directly to you. This is a thing of the future, and they sent us a fancy box with the Mint Mobile SIM card. You just pop in the SIM card, you swap out your one, pop it in, register. You can bring your phone number with you. You don't have to change some crazy number.
Right.
Bring your number, and then you just save a giant fortune every month because you're not paying for all that crap that you don't need.
That sounds like a great deal.
It is absolutely a great deal. Use your phone with any Mint Mobile plan. Keep your phone number, ditch your old wireless bills, and start saving with Mint Mobile. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month, $15 a month, and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/PFF. That's mintmobile.com/PFF. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/PFF.
Go check it out right now. Special thanks to Geoff Schwartz, Greg Cosell.
What is happening?
Everyone on Radio Row here, to the guy in the background.
There's a guy in the background who sounds like an X-rated Donald Duck. What is going on?
I can't keep a straight face. I'm not being professional right now. You got to play through the entire situation.
You're being dramatically more professional than George, who's basically having he's collapsed in hysterical laughter over there.
I refuse to let this swipe. So that's it, the PFF NFL podcast. Thanks to all of our sponsors. We did it. We made it through. Let's see if we can get Daffy on the show. We're going to see what we can do. Thanks for tuning in.
We need to get one of those explicit stickers if he was coming on.
We'll see you guys. Oh, man. Stick with us all week for the great Super Bowl content. We'll see you guys on Monday morning recapping Super Bowl 54.